You've been through this situation. Speak to the ladies out there, speak to the men out there. What should they be aware of?
Did you have a prenup as well?
I did not have a prenup. And so, my divorce situation is almost the opposite of what has been normal for most people.
Oh.
So, but I would say, I understand if you are determined to have a government sanctioned marriage, one thing you talked about in particular is you don't want the government involved in your relationship, or a marriage license is the government. I think
You hear that? It's so refreshing to hear a woman say that. You know, it's not the first time this has ever been said, but the fact that a woman is putting that out there, it kind of changes the game.
Historically, they were actually to prevent interracial marriage. So that's how they began in this country. And you would tell the state that you're married. So it was actually part of our history that I don't think we should keep perpetuating for that reason. But another reason is I think there's so many alternatives today. Like, why do you have to have a marriage license to get married? If you choose to do, I mean, we just accept it because that's what everyone.
Hold up. You hear what she said? Why do we have to have a marriage license to be married? Can we make this more popular, y'all? This is something, like I said, that's not new. If we spread this message around, and there were women that were willing to be participants in this, which I don't know, it might go against some women's retirement plans, you know what I'm saying? The fact that women would be open to this idea of a marriage contract as opposed to a marriage license.
And does, just like everyone accepted, you go after high school, you must go to college. But as we can see, as times and things have evolved, people are learning how to make money and seeing, especially men are dropping out or not attending college at alarming rates. So men have usually been kind of free thinkers when it comes to things that go against their own selves. I think women, we actually tend to do more things that go against us institutionally. That's a whole nother topic. But so there's so many alternatives. Marriage is a business. And a lot of people want to get married in an emotional state. It's about emotions. Most people don't understand there's 8 stages of a relationship. And the majority of people in this country, in the West, get married during the honeymoon phase. And not during and then the power struggle begins. And it's usually after you've been married. And this is why they usually fall apart. But there's civil unions, there's domestic partnerships. You can also set up contracts. You can even have a ceremony if you want. You can do the whole shebang. But why does it have to be that way? Where is a domestic partnership, it costs $35 to file. You can also file your
$35 and out the door on a marriage? You know what I'm saying? We don't even have to ask no questions, man. I'm assuming a lot of men would be down with this arrangement. I'm just gonna say
contracts to go with it. And then if you guys decide to dissolve it, it's $35 filing fee.
Oh,
There's no attorneys. There's no attorneys. There's domestic partnerships. So a lot of people don't know about there's alternative methods to have a marriage. And if we're all about smaller government, less government, why does the government need to be involved in your romantic relationship?
Unless there's people been doing this behind doors and behind closed doors and haven't really been saying it. You know, a lot of what we get sometimes to the mainstream is a little late most times. You get all the benefits of marriage and none of the hassle of divorce because you're just under a contract.
And I know a lot of women will that's why I always bring up how marriage licenses started and why. Because I think a lot of women are like, well, I have to get married. Well, let me teach you the history of why the marriage license itself
Yeah, break this down real quick,
established.
just if you can kind of sum this thing up.
What
it was, what it can be. Please, if you would, just confine that.
So it's so you have the marriage license, which is a blank contract. It's like a blank check. There's no rules, there's no stipulations, there's nothing to go with it other than your emotions. And so
you get in trouble when those emotions get involved.
What else would we do in life where we sign our entire life away, all our finances away, and we don't have any rules to the game?
Let me hear that again.
Fail safe. It's like a blank check. There's no rules, there's no stipulations, there's nothing to go with it other than your emotions. And so what else would we do in life where we sign our entire life away, all our finances away and we don't have any rules to the game.
No guarantees and no rules to the game. What other situation would we sign all of our wealth, all of our resources, our lives basically away? You know, like they talked about Jeff Bezos in the beginning. Obviously, it's not hurting him to give his wife $38 billion. But could you imagine if you had $2 billion and you had to give your wife $1 billion? You know what I'm saying? Like, it'd be a different story. You know, Jeff Bezos got that right back though, because Amazon, you know, everybody was ordering over the pandemic.
So if you are going to do it, absolutely, you need a prenup. But prenups can be overturned. And there are a lot of cases where that has been happening.
Sure.
So it is not a fail-safe. So that's why I say I think people need to start thinking of marriage in an alternative way and take the government out of your marriage, out of your union.
And then what does a domestic partnership do?
So there's a couple different, you can do a domestic partnership. This means the government recognizes you as a civil union. So like as married, and a lot of the same benefits of being married, but it's $35. Well, it depends on your state and county and things, but you just pay a filing fee to just file that. You can actually work out with an attorney that, you know, like I think people should have a parenting plan before they have children or when they find out they're pregnant, in case you guys split up before feelings get in the way.
Where the kids gonna go?
Like in having a contract for that, having a contract dealing with, you know, any assets that may come in. You can have all of that in their business contracts. Their civil
I like it.
contracts, and they're not tied to, they can't be overturned. I mean, anyone can sue you, but it won't be, you know, overturned the way we've seen prenups being.
So you know how they say that proper preparation prevents poor
Poor
performance? You ever
performance.
heard that? A lot of P's right there.
You got that wrong.
Follow Melanie's lead over here because I just learned something today. Every once in a while, you're familiar with this concept?
I mean,
about
familiar, but I
domestic
mean,
partnerships?
what an amazing point, because it's almost like you're in this world, an operating agreement for a business.
Yeah, of
It
course.
tells you how you're going to deal with everything if it goes wrong.
Yes.
Why are we not doing that with marriages? I mean, that's a beautiful point, because it is a business transaction. It's a business contract.
You know what's funny? Melanie just brought something to this guy's attention. Now, this last guy that we were watching here has been married twice already and is planning to get married for a third time. Business executive, I'm assuming I think he said he was a millionaire by the age of 21. Melanie brought something to the table that he had never considered, even after being married all those times, and still open to the possibility. Now, I would say, shout out to Melanie. Melanie's, in some ways, you know, I'm glad she's talking about her divorce now. You know, I'm glad she's bringing up these things. She's expressing herself. She's allowing the full story to be told and how it plays out. And you can see why she feels this way, at least right now. Because I know I've been watching her show for years, and she always brought up the institution of marriage, and you know. But just recently, I'm starting to hear this about the marriage contract, the civil unions, and it seems like this is an evolution for her. This is an evolution for all of us, if you really think about it. The guy sitting right there hadn't even thought of it. Sauce hadn't even thought of it. It's not that it's new thought. This has been in existence. And there are people who have been proponents of it. But I think if Melanie can put this concept together, flesh it out, and mass spread it out, it could change the institution of marriage, at least in the United States. But I don't know if a lot of women are willing to come to the table with that. You know, because if we're all fair dealing, if we're all on the same page here, if nobody's trying to get over on anybody, then it shouldn't be a problem that our marriage is not tied to the government institution. It's like I said, you can have all the accoutrement of the wedding. You can have the big party. You can have the ceremony, the cake. You can have the destination wedding you've always wanted. But why does that have to involve a marriage license? You know, there are other ways. You know, people always bring up the argument about, you know, well, how my wife and kids be covered under my insurance? There are civil unions for that reason. So, you know, all these guys, you know, and like I said, I've thought about it for a long time. You know, I definitely wanted to have children in a relationship, but the nature of that relationship is evolving. And I'm glad Melanie is bringing up this evolution, because this is going to change the game. This is going to make it hard for a gold digger to get over. You're not going to get that check, that get out of jail free card, when you decide on irreconcilable differences, or you decide you're no longer in love with the person that you chose to be your husband or wife. You're not going to get that payoff. That might change some people's ideas of who they actually are seeking out. They might actually be like, well, hey, there's a possibility that, and immediately when they say they don't want to sign it, just like a woman with a prenup, when a woman doesn't want to sign it, you got a red flag has to alarm. You have to be like, wait, why don't you want to sign it? Oh, okay. You might have ulterior motives. This is great. This is something we need to all be floating in our relationships to see if it's something that is a possibility, Change this game. So much heartbreak and torture and depression and turmoil and children dealing with the issues of a divorce when everything can be amicable. We've got the terms ironclad in a contract. And just like in a business, you can sever ties cleanly for, like what Melanie said, for a $35 fee in some cases. That's truly, truly groundbreaking if it takes off in this way.
And you've been around a couple of these business contracts from time to time.
2 of them fail.
But would you do it again, knowing all this information? Would you go through the similar? Because you
Probably.
Would you? So does
I have a different association and a different relationship with money. You're coming from the right place. If your partner doesn't understand that, then maybe that's something that needs to be explored.
He's like, what?
Shout out to what I just learned, domestic partnerships.
And your next day, you're going to be like, so listen,
that start with same-sex marriages?
domestic
Exactly.
partnership, babe.
Right, it started with same-sex marriages.
Yeah, same-sex. They're the ones
That's
that
what
got
started it.
that through.
Oh, some light bulbs are going
So,
off here. You ever
but-
see the movie
That's right.
But anyone
Chuck and
can-
Larry?
Yes, that's Chuck and Larry.
Yeah.
But anyone can do it. So,
Yeah.
and there's other alternatives too.
Okay.
Shout out to Melanie King. It's the intellect for me. You know what I mean? It's the thinking outside the box. Not everybody can really do that. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. This is Faucette Media.